Okay, let's talk about your most valuable, non-renewable resource. It's not money. It's not status. It's your time. And we're about to get really specific on how to stop wasting it. I want you to remember one number. 30,000. That's it. That's roughly how many days you get in an entire lifetime. It's not some vague, blurry future. It's a finite, countable number. And for a lot of you watching, that clock is already ticking down fast. You know, if you're 25 years old, you've already used up 9,000 of your days. Just gone. You can never get them back. Now, the point here isn't to make you panic. It's to get you to be intentional. So, what do we do with the days we actually have left? Well, most of us fall into this thing called the someday trap. We tell ourselves, oh, I'll start that business someday. I'll learn that language someday. We act like we have all the time in the world. But someday isn't a plan, it's a sedative. It just numbs us to the reality that the clock is ticking. It makes us these passive passengers in our own lives, when we should be the architects. Let's make this really personal for a second. Go ahead, pause, and check your phone's screen time for the day. That number you see? That's a direct withdrawal from your 30,000-day account. And the crazy part is, most of the time, we don't even notice we're making the trade. It's a bit of a shock, isn't it? And that brings us to our first huge idea, reframing your whole life around this finite clock. When you stop seeing life as this abstract collection of years and start seeing it as a specific number of days, every single one of them just starts to matter so much more. So here's the crucial part. We have to redefine how we think about our time. Mindless scrolling? That's a debt you're taking out against your future self. But intentional rest, taking a real break, that's a direct investment in your energy, your creativity, your well-being. They are absolutely not the same thing. Do you ever wonder why summer felt like a complete eternity when you were 10, but now a whole year just, poof, disappears? There's actually a psychological reason for that. It's called the time unit paradox. See, as a kid, pretty much everything is new and exciting. Your brain is constantly hitting the record button on all this new data. But as an adult, our lives are full of routine. Commute, desk, email, commute, TV, repeat. Your brain just starts to compress those identical experiences into one blurry file. And this is the big takeaway. The feeling of time speeding up isn't really about physics. It's about memory. When your days are filled with the same old thing, your brain stops making new memories. So if you want to slow down time, you have to inject novelty back into your life. Okay, so how do we actually apply this? Let's move on to our first practical tool, the deathbed filter. And it's all about ruthless elimination, about figuring out what not to do. This strategy, which people often attribute to Warren Buffett, is so simple but so profound. You list everything you want to accomplish, say 25 things. Then you circle your absolute top 3 priorities. Now, everything else on that list, those other 22 items, they aren't your B list. They are now your avoid at all costs list. And here's why that's so important. Those pretty good ideas are the most dangerous distractions. They're interesting enough to pull you away from what really matters, but not important enough to actually move your life forward. They are, quite literally, where your time goes to die. This leads us right into our next big concept. Our whole lives, we're trained to chase financial wealth, right? But the truly wise, they chase something way more valuable, time affluence. And this isn't about being lazy, it's about having the freedom and control to spend your days on what truly matters to you, not just what pays the bills. A huge drain on our time affluence are these things called vampire objects. Just think about it for a second. That bigger house you have to clean, that fancy car you have to maintain, maybe a boat you only use twice a year. They promise you happiness or status, but secretly they just suck away your hours and your energy. Let's make this super concrete. Look at job A on the screen. 100 grand a year, but it costs you 80 hours a week. Now look at job B, 70 grand, but for only 30 hours a week. Yeah, job A pays more, but your time freedom is almost zero. Optimizing for time affluence means recognizing that job B is actually the wealthier choice. Okay, so where should you invest all this time you're reclaiming? Because a life that's rich in time but poor in connection, well, that's no life at all. That's why it's so important to think of your relationships like a bank account. You don't build strong bonds with big, occasional gestures. You build them with small, consistent deposits. A quick text just saying thinking of you, actually listening to someone without interrupting. These tiny little actions, they have a massive compounding effect over time. And here's a point that might surprise you. It's not just about your best friends and family. Your weak ties, those casual acquaintances, old colleagues, they are often your biggest bridges to new opportunities. That quick chat in a coffee shop with someone you used to work with, that could lead to your next big break. So you gotta nurture those connections too. And this brings us to our final big picture idea. We need to completely reframe how we see a successful life. You gotta stop seeing it as a linear climb up some ladder. The ladder view of life is just fragile. If you fall off or the ladder breaks, you've got nothing. But the portfolio view, that's resilient. It's a diverse collection of assets, your skills, your relationships, your memories, your health, your experiences. You are not just your job title. You are the sum of your entire portfolio. So how do you build this amazing portfolio? Not with some massive, overwhelming change. Get this. If you just get 1% better at something every single day, you will be 37 times better by the end of the year. The power of those tiny daily deposits is just staggering. So let's bring this all together. The 30,000-day clock is always ticking. That's a fact you just can't change. But you have absolute control over how you fill those seconds. You can stop being a passenger and start being the architect of your life. The illusion of someday is over. Someday is today. It's right now. So my final question to you is this. Based on everything we've just talked about, what is the one small, intentional choice you're going to make for yourself for your time right now?
Please subscribe to Smart Laziness.